everyone, it's Shannon here. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this video, we are going to play with some brand new products that came out in Honeybee Stamp's 5th birthday release. We're going to create some really unique cards with a very simple technique that combines stencils and inlay die cutting. Here are some of the products we'll be using on today's cards. First is the A2 Thin Frames die. This is a perfect die for today's technique, but also really great for creating some really delicate frames. Next is the Circle Spotlight Stencil. This is a great stencil, comes with all those stencils that you saw there, but I'm going to use this largest one here with the circle opening, and I'm going to place it kind of diagonally on this A2 panel of a 110-pound white cardstock. I'm going to just ink blend the lower edge of this stencil with a Distress Oxide color. This is Salty Ocean. Once I finish that, I'll then rotate my stencil so I have a clean edge, and then I'm going to ink blend with my next color. This is Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide. I'm basically going to use a rainbow of colors here and kind of create this rainbow arched strip diagonally across this panel. So once I finish that green, I then rotated my stencil once more to a clean edge, and I'm moving on to my yellow here, which is Mustard Seed. Now that my stencil is completely dirty, I went ahead and cleaned it as well as cleaned my mat, and now I'm ready for some more ink blending. I'm going to position my stencil here. Again, I am overlapping a little bit of the color that came previously, just a hair. I don't want to get too much mixing of colors, but I do want not much of a white space between the colors. So now I'm moving on to my orange, which is Spice Marmalade. Next is my red, which is Abandoned Coral. And this will actually be the end of my rainbow, and I'm going to start back over, but I'm going to clean my stencil here real quick because I've got it covered with Distress Oxide. Now that it's clean, I'll start back over my rainbow here with Blueprint Sketch Distress Ink, only because I don't have the Oxide version of this. And I'm also going to kind of complete that first section of rainbow with Blueprint Sketch. I did kind of skip that color before I started this rainbow. Now I'm going to continue through my colors with Salty Ocean, Mowed Lawn, kind of fixing up my Salty Ocean here a little bit, and then Mustard Seed, then Spice Marmalade, and then last, of course, Abandoned Coral to complete my little arched strip of rainbow colors. So I'm going to set this aside and actually start a second panel here. This one's a bit simpler. I'm just going to go right up the middle with my arch strip. Again, I'm going to use all the exact same colors as I did before, just a little bit different placement of our kind of arched strip of rainbow colors. So I'm just finishing up here, and there you have it. It's all done. These are actually both really pretty, I think, on their own, but we're going to take them a step further and do some inlaying with them. So I have the A2 Thin Frames die here. I'm going to center one of my ink blended panels behind it, and then I'm going to use a piece of purple tape to kind of hold it in place on my plates and then run it through my die cutting machine. After I run it through here, the die cuts all these beautiful thin little frames of our thin little rectangles that we are going to inlay to create a really cool design. And of course, I repeated it for our other panel that we ink blended. And now we're going to kind of put this together. I have an A2 top folding white card base, and I'm going to start by adding some liquid glue to the largest frame, and I'm going to just adhere it onto the front of our card base. So I'm just going to stick it down here, try to make sure that the edges of the frame are lined up with the edges of the card base as best as possible, trying to keep this as square and straight as I possibly can. And I find the liquid glue is a little bit easier here for this first frame because it gives you that little bit of wiggle room. Now for the other frames, I'm going to completely cover the front of this A2 card base with a tape runner, completely get the whole thing sticky. And now I'm going to start inlaying, but I'm going to rotate every other frame, and this is going to create a really cool design. So I first put this first frame in here. This is the second frame is the first frame I rotated. Now we're on the third frame. This is going to go exactly the same orientation as the first frame, and then the fourth frame will be rotated again. And this is actually pretty simple. I hope this doesn't sound too complicated. There's really only two ways your frame can go in. So if your frames are lining up, creating a nice line, you have got two in the same position, so you need to rotate one. And I'm just going to repeat this process till I've got all of the frames inlaid on the front of this card base. And as you can see, it creates this really crazy pattern, and it's mind-blowing to me how this turned out. I would love to say that I knew that's what it was going to look like, but I had no idea. This was total experimentation, and I'm really excited about how it looks. So I'm now on my second panel here. I'm going to do the exact same process. So I already glued down the largest panel, already put some tape on the front, and now I'm just inlaying all the frames rotating every other one, so it creates, again, this really cool, almost hypnotic kind of look. Now that our backgrounds are done, I'm ready to move on to my sentiment. I die cut hello, but I die cut the letters out 3 times using the new Be Bold lowercase die set. These letters are really gorgeous. I can't wait to make some other cards with these die cuts. And I'm just stacking the 3 die cuts on top of each other just to create a little bit of dimension. This is a little bit thinner than using foam tape, and I just like the thickness. I thought foam tape was a little too thick here for these letters, or for this card really. So now I'm ready to kind of finish this up. I did stamp a sentiment from the Friend stamp set, and heat embossed it on a little bit of gray cardstock, and now I'm just going to use a T ruler here to kind of get these letters perfectly straight, then pick them up with a piece of blue tape. Then I'll add some adhesive to the back side and then stick them back down, center them, and get them stuck. I'm going to leave that tape on there just till it dries, and after it sets a little bit, then I will remove that painter's tape, and my letters are perfectly straight, and I'll just finish up with this sentiment that I stamped from the Friend stamp set, with a little bit of, and added that on with a little bit of some foam squares, and that actually finishes the card. And I'll hold the card up to the camera so hopefully you can get a good look at this finished pattern. I really like how it turned out. It's so different, so unique. I have done a lot of rotating and inlaying die cuts before, but I've never tried it before with like this, where I combined a stencil and basically made my own pattern paper. But I really like how it turned out, and I can't wait to play with it some more. And this A2 thin frames die makes it so easy. I hope you guys enjoyed today's cards and video. If you want any more information on the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. And if you like this video, I'd so love for you to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.